Become a sponsor today by visiting patreon.com/psychologyis.
I want to ask you about the phenomenon of people with what's called highly superior autobiographical memory. And I know you know what this is, but just for people who are watching or listening who are not aware of this, if you look it up, you'll be fascinated. It's the case of people who appear to remember almost every day of their lives. And it often comes along with what's known as calendar calculation, where you can just say, like, what were you doing on June 22nd, 2011? And the person will just pull it right up as if they're just pulling up a file on their computer. And it appears that it's accurate, and it's very detailed as well. And what's quite interesting about these people too is some of them are severely depressed, and that this has caused them to just feel incredibly weighed down by their past. But then others, particularly those who've had a really, a good life, a life of abundance and happiness. Like, for example, the actress Mary Lou Henner is a famous case of this, and she loves it. And to her, it's like a superpower. But then there are people like a woman by the name of Jill Price who are, again, just depressed by it and weighed down by it. But my question to you, Elizabeth, is, do you believe them? And do you think that there's something real about this condition where they're actually recalling accurate details?
Well, first of all, these HSAMs, the highly superior autobiographical memory people, were discovered and have been studied intensively by my colleagues in neurobiology here at the University of California. Very, very excellent scientists who, and of course, they've been featured on all kinds of television programs. They're very impressive. And I watched the one that you turned me on to from the Australian 60 Minutes. And so I'm with you on the two examples that you mentioned. And I do think they're quite special. They can remember just about everything they did every day of their adult life. It appears as if, the things check out. They don't seem to make mistakes. But get this, my graduate students, along with some of the graduate students in neurobiology who have been studying these HSAMs, asked the question, what would happen if you put these HSAMs into some of these false memory experiments, like a misinformation experiment or some other memory distortion experiment, like the word list false memory experiments, where people remember words on a list that they didn't hear or see. Would they resist the errors and be really accurate? Would they make errors? Would they make errors on some and not others? The beauty of this study was it almost didn't matter how it came out. It was going to be interesting. And what we found is that these HSAMs made essentially as many mistakes in these false memory studies as the age and gender match controls.
Interesting.
So we published that work, and it is kind of a puzzle when you see them be so able to tell you what they were doing on June 1st, 1990. And then you go back and you look up what happened that day, and they seem to get it exactly right. How come they're making these errors with these other sort of memory paradigms? I've also had scientists who work with the neurobiologists tell me that they have met some of these patients repeatedly, and on a second and third meeting, the HSAMs fail to recognize the scientist who they've met on several prior. So they make mistakes. They're not perfect. They sometimes don't recognize people that you think they should because they spent a whole lot of time with the person on a prior occasion. They make mistakes in the false memory paradigms. They're special, but it doesn't mean they're perfect.